Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. But be careful, I may even try to find you a husband or a wife. Just ask Robert Bruschi. I've been doing that recently. So, Elizabeth, we always get to have the coolest conversations in the Ask Beck and Liz, and the questions that we get are always thought-provoking. Today's question is, what is the greatest asset that women have in business that men may not possess?
That's a good question. It's an interesting question. And I think one of the first things that pops into my mind is I think women tend to use empathy more in general, in personal life, but also in business. And I think that we can put ourselves in someone else's shoes. I think that gives us a degree of intuition about reading people, about understanding who they are and what they need in order to be successful. If you're the leader of a group, or if you're the hiring person, or if you're the franchisor, or you're the agent who's selling, you understand more quickly, I think, and you can get to know someone a little bit better using those tools, using the tool of empathy, and using the ability to understand who someone is and where they're coming from. I think we ask questions more like that. I know when I talk to my husband, and I'll say, well, how did that person feel about this? And he's like, well, I don't know, I didn't ask them. How can you not ask somebody if they've had an event? He had a worker who had a stressful situation, and I said, well, how did he feel? Well, I don't know. I mean, you can assume, but I would have said, I'm so sorry, are you okay? How do you feel about that? And what can we do? He's just like, well, here's what we're gonna do to solve it, and that's the end of it. So, I mean, I think that's one of those things women probably do a little bit better, and I'm sure it can be a double-edged sword, but in general, I think it's a good quality.
I think you're right. It is a gift that men have where they go straight into the problem solving. This employee had an issue where we go straight into the how did you feel, empathy, trying to deal with the heart issues. And it can be a double-edged sword. We can be too empathetic in certain situations, and that could lead to some challenges also. It's interesting as we're talking about empathy. One of the other things that popped up in my head that would probably be a little more feminine than masculine is humility. I think women have a little more humility than men. Men, wired to achieve and accomplish and compete and build empires. So it requires confidence, and it requires a certain, bodaciousness to them, where we as women are almost given permission to be more humble, and we don't have to be as bodacious. And I think it allows us to come across as more authentic and more genuine, and to your point, more empathetic and more caring, simply because we don't have to pretend we're something or puff ourselves up. We can be more humble, more open to feedback, and more open to how someone else is thinking and feeling.
It's interesting too. I think that can also be a double-edged sword, because I can't remember where it was from, but there was a study that talked about women's and men's willingness to push forward on something they may not be qualified for. If a man and woman are equally unqualified for a job, not quite there, the man will just say, oh, I can do that, it's no big deal. And the woman is more likely to say, well, let me get some more training, or give me a year, I need to get more experience. And so I think sometimes that can hold us back. But I think also in terms of age and maturity, I probably would have let that hold me back more when I was 30.
Yeah.
And now I realize, my friend and I had the year of yes one year. We just said yes to everything, which is actually how I got my book published. Because somebody said, oh, I'm a book publisher, I'm an author, and I have a book, and yes, I'll do all these things. And so one thing snowballs from the other, which you can also take too far. But I think as you mature as a woman and become more confident, you don't have to be arrogant. You can still have that humility. I think that we naturally present ourselves more that way, but also have the confidence not to hold back.
Yeah. It really is kind of a continuum, isn't it? This on
Hmm.
one side is this meek, timid sort of individual that doesn't uh, have that kind of confidence or willingness to step out of the comfort zone. And then there's this other continuum of it that is maybe even a little arrogant or a chip on the shoulder, but
Hmm.
somewhere in between, if center is a healthy confidence and at the same time humble, not arrogant, if that's perfect,
Yeah.
then women are just a little left of this and men are just a little right of that, right? They're a little more
Hmm.
confident than we are and a little less humble. And so it can definitely prove to be, if we go too far to one direction where we're too timid and too humble, it can affect our self-esteem and our self-worth. And as you pointed out, even courage. It
Hmm.
has us holding back from opportunities that may be presenting themselves that we don't feel we're quite ready for.
Yeah. And I think we're more honest in our self-evaluation. Like I know my limitations, I know my strengths, but I have learned to say, I'll figure it out. I may
Mm-hmm.
not know exactly that thing right this second, but I can either figure it out or I'll find someone else who knows it and I'll ask them. And so I think finding balance in all of those traits is the challenge and the gift. I mean, at this point, I think it's fun to do it,
Yeah.
um, much less intimidating than it used to be.
But I have a question regarding
Hmm.
that, Elizabeth, because if we're better at self-assessing, does that
Hmm.
then also turn into we're better at asking for help or taking feedback? I mean, if I know I'm not so great at whatever, am I more likely then to ask for advice or feedback simply because I know I'm not so great at that?
I think that's a continuum as well, because I think when you're younger, you hate to admit that. I think this week I've probably asked you for help, Fred for help, my sister for help. Like,
Help!
I'm not great at graphic design. I know that you're better than me, so I'm going to ask you for help. You know, I can write something in 5 minutes that might take somebody else an hour. I don't mind helping with that. So I think that being able to take that feedback and not take it personally, like I totally get what I'm not good at, and if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to be like, yep, you're right, I'm not good at that. So you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So help me
Help!
with it. But I do think that women are pretty good at asking for help and delegating, you know, and saying,
Mm.
let's divide this up and get it all done together. And it'll be a much better outcome for all of us if we all put our strengths, you know, forward.
Which takes us back to where this conversation started,
Mm-hmm.
is by not being arrogant and overly confident and having a certain level of humility and empathy allows us then to tap into the strengths and the giftings of other, male or female. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. We're able to recognize the talent in others and recognize the weakness in ourselves and either delegate it or ask for help in one way or another. Full
Mm-hmm. And I
cycle.
think, yeah, it is. And when you can appreciate, there's nothing I love more than someone who's really smart or really funny or really creative or just good at what they do or loves what they do, and that enthusiasm just permeates from them. So I think being able to appreciate that plays into all of those things, and you start to celebrate someone else's or success or gift, and choose those people in your life to surround yourself with, so that everything is more robust and more profitable and more fun.
More fun and we're more connected. We
Right.
realize that we are meant to be in relationship. No human being is
Mm-hmm.
an island. We are meant to have strengths and weaknesses and to rely on one another and to appreciate and respect and be in
Mm-hmm.
awe of your talents or somebody else's talents and vice versa. If we had it all, we knew it all, we'd be pretty lonely people, I would think.
We would be an island.
Islands, not good.
No, I
Parties,
don't want to be on an
good.
island. Yes.
Oh, as always, I so love these questions that people send us and ultimately where our thought processes go. And I hope it's helpful for those that are listening. But for now, thank you for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose filled and profitable week.